Good afternoon and welcome to the summit on the YouTube man. I'm telling you, it's been a long week on YouTube here, on the Facebook channel, on the YouTube channel. We'll be on Twitter a little bit later on, so you can go ahead and say, "Okay, Boomer." Now, I guess I may be reaching for that right now. I'm Joey McWilliams, not as old as I may have sounded just a moment ago. I'm getting to speak now with the athletic director from Henderson State University, Shawn Jones, and Shawn, we have a lot to talk about today. I want to make good use of your time. Thank you for being with me this afternoon on MidwestSports.net, on YouTube. And, of course, the lead is the fact that sports have been shut down for a period of time. But our motto here now on MidwestSports.net is that we're going to just keep talking about sports until we get it back. So there we go from there. You all were headed to competition in the NCAA regional tournament in basketball when we last left off talking about Henderson State sports. I got to see the Reddies win a Great American Conference tournament championship in the men's basketball team, a 72-61 win over Oklahoma Baptist just this past weekend, 6 days ago. It doesn't seem like that long ago, and in one sense, and yet it seems like a lifetime ago. So talk about you all heading to Maryville, Missouri, and what happened on your way up there?
Well, Joey, first of all, thanks for having me on today to talk about this. So much has happened in the world of sports and NCAA sports and even Division II, of course, in the last 48 hours. And we were headed to Maryville. Our administrative team was headed up on Thursday. Our basketball team actually left on Wednesday, stayed in Joplin, and then went on up towards Maryville, got to Liberty, Missouri, north of Kansas City when we finally received the news. But as I got in the car on Thursday morning, one of the things I told the group was we need to make sure we limit the back roads we take to hit 71 in Fort Smith, because I need to stay in constant communication with folks in the Great American Conference and folks on our campus as it related to COVID-19 and what our institution was going to do, but also to be able to monitor the landscape of what was occurring in the country when it dealt with so many gatherings, including the NCAA tournament. And that really hit home on Wednesday night when the NBA suspended its season. You just had a feeling when the NBA suspended what could happen next. So things began to rapidly occur as normal in this new normal of the last 48 to 72 hours during that drive. And I just had a gut feeling when we got to Springdale that we needed to get off the road and kind of sequester ourselves somewhere and let some of this information come in before we headed further down the road. So at that point, I'm communicating with Coach Elgis, our basketball coach, communicating with our staff on just the different things that were transpiring. And then when we saw the news that Rudy Gobert had tested positive for the coronavirus and that had occurred in Oklahoma City. And then almost immediately after that the Southeastern Conference had canceled their tournament and a series of other Power 5 basketball tournaments had been canceled. You just had, the sinking feeling that we knew what was coming next. The decision had already been made as of Wednesday to not allow fans in the stands for the games in Maryville, but you just wondered at that time if that was going to be it. And so when all those other things started to cascade, the feeling became, I have a bad feeling. And so then we got back on the road because we waited and waited, and we got another, 25 miles to Bella Vista, Arkansas, just into Missouri. And then honestly, given where we were, I was not shocked to hear the news of the basketball tournaments being canceled. Although that was one of the more difficult conversations of my career, to tell Coach Elgis to turn the bus around and come home when our kids had earned the right to play in the NCAA tournament. But when we got the news that the spring sports championships had been canceled as well, frankly, at the time, that was stunning. And that brought a myriad of other things to mind in terms of our spring sports seasons. And really since then, we've just been working through it one piece at a time.
Well, it was stunning then. It's stunning now still. I mean, it is difficult, 48, 72 hours to wrap our minds around this and think about what's gone into it, for the student athletes themselves. And I know that is the priority for you. Having visited with you for a long time, I know the student athletes are a priority there. And at Henderson State, you all want the best. You work hard to have a quality program, give the student athletes quality facilities in which to work and with which to work, and a lot of positives that are going on there. It's just been difficult to think about, and I really wanted people to get to hear that too. That, I mean, these are buses that are just literally turning around and having to head back home, and it was a very real thing, and not just something that you may see or hear snippets about on the news.
Yeah, unprecedented in our lifetimes, in our country. Obviously, we're all cognizant of the fact that this is much bigger than sports. This is, I think I said this the other day, and I think it's the key point. I mean, this is about protecting our most vulnerable citizens. With the projections that are out there for the young, for older folks, for those who may have compromised immune systems. It's very serious, and it has to be taken that way. But it doesn't take the sting away from what was lost for our kids and our coaches. We understand why. It's just hard to process and understand it because it's so unusual and so sudden. And I mentioned, I think on I don't even know what day it is. I guess it's Saturday. That's kind of the way it's gone. I guess it was Thursday night. As you're working through everything and trying to get word to your coaches and trying to get questions answered that frankly couldn't be answered yet, even because things were happening so fast, but you still had to try to seek those answers. Got home late. You're trying to be a leader in that process and stay calm and stay focused on the things that matter most and helping your people. But when I got home and I unpacked a bag full of 5 days worth of clean clothes,
Yeah.
it hit me. I've never done that in my career. You might have 2 days worth of clothes gone because you may have an early exit, and that's happened to all of us. But I've never unpacked a completely clean bag for multiple days for postseason for a team, and it hit me hard. In that moment, I started thinking about our basketball kids and this historic season at Henderson and Coach Elgis, and winning a championship last week to earn this right, and a team that's playing well, and that's it. It ended on an exit on a freeway in North Missouri to turn around and come back to Arkansas. And that's just not something we're accustomed to. That's a paradigm we've never had to be in before. And so it hit me, and I started thinking about our spring athletes and the kids that are rehabbing and the rehab that missed a year to injury and the sacrifices and the 6 a.m. waits and the coaches who love and care for those kids and work with them hours and hours a day all year long. And I was an emotional wreck. It's something that at the time, only my wife saw because frankly, she heard me crying, and I don't cry a whole lot. I just don't. And and I did, and I needed to. And I think a lot of people felt that way. It wasn't just me. It was those kids. It was those coaches, not just at Henderson, not just in the Great American Conference, Division II, Division I. This has affected thousands and thousands of people. So, once you get that out of your system, though, then it's time to go back to work and try to find solutions to the challenges that we have. And that's what we've been doing since then.
Well, then let's talk about one of those things right now as we bring up on the screen this coming from the NCAA. And this has been a graphic that's been seen by a number of people. And what it's talking about, to be able to look at this here, the council leadership, this is talking Division I, by the way, in the NCAA. Council leadership agreed that eligibility relief is appropriate for all Division I student athletes who participated in spring sports. And so not talking about the winter sports just yet, Shawn, but talking about spring sports, that some kind of relief is appropriate. And this, by the way, I want you to address this, but also this is a graphic that has been taken, I think, out of context in a couple of places, talking about granting relief even to some winter sports as well. And I'm not so sure where the NCAA is on all of that. Maybe you can help me with this right now.
Sure. The graphic you have there pertains to Division I. It was the first one to come out. That's not unusual. Division II had a call of their administrative council yesterday, and that's it's an emergency situation. Normally everything in D2 flows through the president's council. last, management council before that, and other groups. But this was an administrative council that got together yesterday because of the timing and the emergency nature of the things that needed to occur. So Division II, that basic information, as you see it there from a Division II perspective, came out last night. And what they did, I'm going to look at this paper a little bit, Joey. I don't have it all memorized, but the first thing they did was enact a dead period for recruiting through April 15th, and that's divisions wide. I believe that's divisions 1, 2, and 3. And it makes a lot of sense because what's a coach going to do if they don't have competition?
Right.
They're going to go out and recruit, and that's in their life. That's their lifeblood. But does it make sense to allow them to go out and recruit if we're trying to keep groups from gathering to prevent the spread of COVID-19? No, it does not. So they enacted that to make it consistent across all sports and all divisions. But the most important piece to it that Division II came out with last night was a season of competition waiver and extension request waivers, which basically, to sum it up, means that all the kids who are in spring sports. So for us, that's not, it's not just baseball. I've heard a lot of people talk about baseball. It's baseball, it's softball, it's tennis, and it's men's and women's golf. Here at Henderson State, there are other schools that have additional sports like, off the top of my head, track and field, outdoor track and field,
right,
and other sports, and even in our conference. Any of those kids that are playing, that were eligible, that were playing, that were in the process of using a season of competition will get that season back next year. So that's tremendous news. And I appreciate the staff of Division II at the NCAA for doing this so quickly, because so many kids are in limbo. And I can give you example after example of kids I know that are affected. But as of, a day and a half ago, they thought their careers were. Now at least they know there's going to be a chance, if they wish, to continue. They're going to get that season back. So, Joey, if you're a senior, you get the season back.
Right.
You'll be a senior again next year. But if you're a sophomore, you'll get the sophomore season back next year. So, and everybody should get that. And that's wonderful news. We've got a lot to work through, but it's great news. But there are some challenges that are presented by it as well that institutions, leagues, and Division II will have to answer. But the bottom line is, for it to be done in such a short period of time, that was done along with fluency limits. There'll be grace on that next year. So in baseball and Division II, you can only have 9 scholarships.
Right.
Well, if you had 8 seniors on a bunch of aid, but you've signed 8 freshmen, and you're over that amount for next year only, that'll be allowed because it's not done for a competitive advantage. It's done so you can take care of the kids who are leaving and the kids who are coming in. But that does, and I want to bring that up, that leads to the challenge in this, which we'll all have to work through. All institutions, I don't care if it's the University of Arkansas or if it's Henderson State or any other school conference, you have a number of dollars in your scholarship budget. Some people have what equals to 9 in baseball. Some might have 8, 7, 6, 5, whatever the institution elects to do. Well, if you have 8 seniors on a certain amount of aid, and so you've signed 8 incoming freshmen, you've signed them on that aid that the seniors had.
Right.
It's great if you could just wave a magic wand and this wasn't money and keep the 8. You just got a bigger roster. But where's that money going to come from? And that's a question that has to be answered by all of us.
Right. Yeah,
it's the answer. We want to take care of our kids, but we just got to figure it out.
And it's not about the eligibility itself, but as you mentioned, it's the scholarships, it's the overall aid package, as you mentioned there. Now it's being divided up a little bit different. Roster sizes, because roster sizes come into play. There are limited amounts of players you can have there, and there are other things then that will come into play also that you all are taking care of on the backside of it there. But Shawn, what a positive note then to talk about in this time here Saturday, as we're just hours out of, what was a very difficult day a couple of days ago. Things are starting to at least come together, and we're seeing something good to talk about. Would that be a good way of saying that?
Yeah, we needed some good news, and we got some good news. And so now it's just working through the details of that to make it happen. And we will. We'll get there.
All right, then wrap up our time today then talking about the Reddies, because I always want to get to promote here on MidwestSports.net for the folks who come on and places that we go. We actually were in Arkadelphia, Midwest Sports Saturday back in October, and I had a blast there. I appreciated you all letting us come out, and Of course, we got to visit with Kevin Rogers, which, that's the big deal, right? Getting to visit with Kevin Rogers there on site. And you all came away with a big victory on the field that day against Northwestern Oklahoma. But, Shawn, please talk about the Reddies. It has been a good athletic year to this point.
It has. In the fall, we had a great football season, won 9 games, made a bowl game. I think we were probably the last team out of the playoffs, but 9-3 overall, which was great. A lot of fun. Volleyball under Phil McDaniel has been incredible. He's really brought us to another level. I think we won 21 matches this year, back-to-back 20-win seasons. It wasn't too long ago that the program's really struggling. So really, really proud of what Phil's done with the program there. And then you go into the winter, and our women's basketball team made the semifinals of the conference tournament, won 20 games. So they've won, I think, 59 games the last 3 years under Coach Jill Thomas. And then the men, of course, 23-7, I believe, turned out to the final record, but won the conference championship in Bartlesville, got to cut down the nets. And it was the first time, I think, since 2002 that Henderson won conference championship in basketball. I'd forsaken not wanting to leave anybody out. I'm going through all our sports right now, trying to.
Sorry, I didn't mean to put that pressure on you in that sense.
No. I'm glad you did. A swim team finished second in their league this year on the men's side, had a really good year. The golf teams were having exceptional seasons. The women special group, we call them the Fab Four. They had 4 starters in their lineup that were true freshmen and a senior. And I think we're poised to do some really big things, but they'll all get a chance to come back next year. And baseball had really heated up. We had beat Delta State in a midweek game, and then took 2 out of 3 from a very, very good nationally ranked Oklahoma Baptist team that next week, and 2 of 3 from Arkansas Tech. So they were really hot and starting to play well. And then softball had won a series against a very good Southern Nazarene team that came in undefeated in the league right as everything ceased. So that and so many other good things occurring, and appreciate all our coaches and what they do, and certainly don't want to leave any of them out. But it has been a very, very good year, consistent success. I'm really proud of our coaches, and that is evident on nights like Friday, or I guess it was Thursday, when you have to tell them these things, and they're so hurt, but they're so professional. And all they're thinking about is caring for and loving their kids. And that's a big thing here that we talk about, is it can be tough love. But in this department, we want to treat our kids like they're our kids. And that means tough love sometimes. That doesn't mean you always agree. That doesn't mean that it's a picnic. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens in practice, you can go into your coach's office and talk about life and talk about your future and talk things through that are challenges day to day. And it's something that I've believed in since I got here. It's something that our coaches believe in, and it starts with having really good people. And I can say without question that I have really good people as coaches and as staff. And if you have that, you have everything you need. And we're really blessed in that regard. And again, right now they're being tremendous leaders and mentors to a group that's really hurting. But also, I'm proud of our kids. I'm really proud of student athletes. But they understand the bigger picture. They understand, and that's really hard to do when you've worked your whole life to play collegiate sports. Maybe that's been a goal since you were a kid, and then it gets taken away abruptly like it did. But for them to understand what this is really all about, and unprecedented times in our country, and trying to stop the spread of a virus that is new to our world and our country, and is a threat, and having that maturity means so much to me. I'm so proud of it.
Well, it looks like the old Ready spirit is definitely alive and well in Arkadelphia, even through all of this. So, Shawn Jones, athletic director at Henderson State, thank you so much for taking time with me today on this live stream here on MidwestSports.net's YouTube channel and Facebook page as well.
Well, Joey, I appreciate all the coverage you provide. I've got a lot of compliments from you and the work you do on the GAC Sports Network, and how prepared you are and professional. And so I appreciate you and Michael and everybody that brings that great coverage to our league.
Thank you very much, sir. It is an honor. It always is. Well, we'll wrap up our time here on the summit today. Again, we've been visiting with Shawn Jones from Henderson State University. Do want to say thank you all for watching. Please subscribe to this YouTube channel. We would appreciate that. We definitely want it to grow and want to be able to continue to provide good coverage, quality coverage of small college athletics and high school athletics around the Midwest. So for Shawn Jones, I'm Joey McWilliams. Thanks again for watching. God bless you. Have a great day.